Welcome to Old Roommates. This week on the show, we will be revisiting The Money Pit with Tom Hanks. So grab your toolbox and join us. Oh my God, just join us.
Join us. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. I'm Brian.
And I'm Christina.
And today on the show, we are revisiting The Money Pit, the 1986 hit with Tom Hanks and Shelley Long. The movie was made for $10 million. It made about $55 million. I guess that makes it a hit. I remember it being a bigger movie for some reason, or it being a bigger deal in my mind.
Yeah, but I mean, $55 million back
when
then.
When it's made for 10, that's true. That's fair. Yeah, that's
back
true.
then it was, I think, a bigger deal.
Yeah, if it made, So, Christina, 1986, when was the first time you saw this movie?
I don't really recall the first time I saw it. I feel like I've seen it a few times, and I remember liking it. I don't think I watched it in the movies. For some reason, I have this vision of me sitting on my couch watching it with God knows who. But 86, I was a senior in high school, so I feel like it must have been in my early 20s or something when I was actually sort of watching it, or maybe 20. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember liking it. I remember thinking it was funny, but I also remember not loving the downward turn it takes in their relationship. I remember that part of it I just didn't enjoy. But I thought it was funny. I did. What about you, Brian?
So I will tell you that The Money Pit, so again, I think this brings me back to my video store days. So in 86, I was 14, 15, but I think when I got the job at the video store, I put that movie in quite a bit because it was relatively safe. I think it's PG. There's nothing too scandalous involved. And I remember really loving The Money Pit. I remember because I loved Shelley Long from Cheers, and I really liked Tom Hanks at that point. And there were little things that I remembered, Maureen Stapleton as oh my God.
She's so good. I forgot it was her. But she's so good.
Yeah. And also all the little I'm talking about back then still, I kind of felt comfort in those little repetitive gags where it's the Fix-It guys were always playing I Gotta Be Me. And every time Tom Hanks was in his driveway, dirt flung in his face. There's something almost weirdly comforting and funny about that as a teenager working in a video store. It was you kind of embrace the consistency, at least for me. I just kind of liked consistency. And it was probably truly one of my favorite movies from that time, but I had not seen this movie in it. I would say probably about 25 years. I don't think
it's probably been at least that for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have not seen it since then.
Yeah. So let's dive right in.
It's a true revisit.
Yeah. So, and what was your immediate feelings?
So my immediate feelings, so when it first opens up with the dad in Puerto Rico, I kind of forgot about that part. And I'm thinking to myself, in that whole conversation that they had, I felt like it was unnecessary. It was a weird thing to have. Why did they need to even involve the father in the first place? Aside from sort of establishing that the Tom Hanks character is in debt and it's not his fault. Right. You know what I mean? That's the only thing it established, but it was a lot to establish that.
I completely forgot about that opening. I completely forgot about the dad thing. And that's exactly right. The only reason to establish that relationship is to say his dad is a playboy living off of Tom Hanks's money.
Right.
It
was just very. It was. And it ends. Who thought of that?
It ends with the dad.
And it ends with the dad, unless that's what they were thinking all along. Oh, won't that be a fun thing to turn it around? And because now are we supposed to assume are we supposed to assume that the Tom Hanks character is going to have to deal with the expenses of this new money pit at the end of the movie?
I mean, he has no money, so he won't be able to.
Well, he sells that
I mean,
house.
it was a little vague, and I didn't care. I didn't care about the dad.
No, me
his
either.
New bride and all that. So,
Yeah.
I didn't get the thing with the dad. I have to be honest. That first scene of Tom Hanks and Shelley Long, I was like, this is bad. The acting is so stiff.
Mm-hmm.
They have no chemistry. Like, I remembered them being really cute together. And I kept feeling like Shelley Long wanted to be somewhere else. Like, and it wasn't the character. I felt a lack of chemistry. And you know who the original cast, and I didn't know this then, but Kathleen Turner was supposed to be that role. And which makes some sense in certain
it's so
scenes.
funny that you're saying this, because one of the first things that popped out at me when I saw them together, Tom Hanks looks so young and Shelley Long looks so old. And
Christina,
Matt even mentioned it too.
Carl mentioned it. Carl mentioned that same thing.
It's so weird, right? Like,
he's like, what did they do to Shelley?
Almost.
He's like, what did they do to Shelley Long's hair? Why did they make her look that way? Like, he said, Shelley Long's hair, it's like almost like part mullet. It makes her look older. And when I mentioned the Kathleen Turner thing, he's like, well, I think she would have looked even older.
But that's what my point was just going to be. Like, it's an interesting choice. I think she would have been better. But thinking about it, it's like, why are they choosing all these women that are old?
Tom Hanks does have that boyish.
No offense to Kathleen Turner or Shelley Long.
No, yeah, and I love Kathleen Turner, but Tom Hanks is a boyish charm, and there's that whole thing. And you mentioned the relationship back then. I liked the relationship then. Now though, I'm like, why is he so insecure? He is so insecure about his relationship, which is and it's not based on anything. Like, he's like,
well, I think it was based on the fact that she didn't want to marry him,
and she works with her ex.
Yeah, that had been gone for a year. That whole storyline is so bizarre to me. That whole thing, that first scene, like what you're saying, again, no chemistry, and then you find out that they've been living in her ex-husband's apartment for a year
for free,
and he's coming back today. But Tom Hanks's character had no idea. Like, all of a sudden they're surprised about this, and then she says he wasn't supposed to be back for a week. So why haven't you been looking for an apartment? Like, why haven't you moved out in like the past 6 months?
Weren't they living there for free?
They were living there for free. So
it's like, where's all the money?
She has one line that she says, "Oh, I've been looking," or something like that. But clearly you were surprised. Clearly you weren't looking that hard.
Yeah.
Like, what did you think was going to happen next week? And the fact that she never even told him made me really uncomfortable. I'm like, what the hell? Like, if you're living with somebody and you're not going to tell them that they need to be out on their ass in a week.
And there's also a weird moment in that sequence where Tom Hanks realizes what's going on. He's like, wait a minute, is it the psycho or is it the what does he call him? Is it the maniac? Is it the maniac? And there's a long pause, and Shelley Long just like looks straight into the camera and goes, yes. And I'm like, there's a lot of emotion, because then you meet the maestro guy and he's like, nothing. He's also, and it's also a bad performance.
It's a bad performance.
He has some funny lines, and he just wastes them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's much better in Die Hard, that guy.
Yes. Although I never saw Die Hard. Ooh, I know.
Oh.
I know, right?
My God.
I'm the one person that's never seen it. Everyone's always shocked. But what's funny though, when I think back, I felt like thinking, like when I first saw it, I felt like he was like a bigger villain. You know what I mean? Like, I really remember him as being like this really, like, I don't know, scary? I don't know if scary is
like
the word for it.
He's like a puff pastry in this movie. Like, he's so unthreatening. Mm-hmm. The only drama his character creates is that he could solve their problems, but Shelley Long doesn't want to bring him back into her life. But she doesn't even know that he can solve the problems. Like, Well, he has like right he because she could sell him the art pieces she got in the divorce,
Oh, that.
right?
Yeah.
So they got divorced. She could start selling him stuff they bought in the divorce back, but she doesn't want him back that closely in her life again.
Yeah, it's a weird
There's no
relationship.
drama. There's really no real drama here other than the house falling apart.
There really isn't. So, and that's what is kind of strange about this whole movie. Like, all of that extra stuff is so poorly written and it's so poorly developed that I don't understand why they even had another storyline there to begin with. Like, they didn't need that. They put in there because they felt like they needed something, but they did it so poorly that it's just not, like, nobody cares. Like, and even like the conversation that she had, oh, well, you wanted it for $100,000 and I want to sell it to you for $75,000, like the painting or whatever.
Yeah.
Even that is such a short conversation. Like, I don't even care.
It could have been a phone, right? It could have been a phone call. It's in person, right? Like
It's in person.
They go to
Yeah,
dinner.
they're walking down the street.
Yeah.
It's
that's right. To the car. That's right. And then he gets in the car. Yeah. Yeah.
And even him trying to win her back is like not effective.
Oh, it's half-hearted. Like, he doesn't care. It's like like at the end of the day, he doesn't really care, and the acting is pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God, there's nothing compelling about this.
Nothing.
Excuse me. I will say, oh yeah, because so one of the lines he says, and I was like, oh, that's a pretty funny line. By the way, this is on Netflix right now.
Yes.
We should tell people if they want to watch it and
feel
listen
free
to
to
the episode,
watch
or
it.
you can pause this, stop this, watch that, and come back. But it's on Netflix this month. But he says the maestro's been away. He comes back to the symphony, and he's like, all right, let's assess the damage. But like, that's actually a funny line, and he just says everything so monotone that you don't even click. Like, you don't even get that it's funny or even a joke. There's no comedic timing. It's really a weird performance.
It really is. I totally agree. And it's very similar with the Shelley Long character too.
Yeah.
You know,
well, when she says, Max, it's over. And I wrote blank, flat, weird. Like, she's not even convincing, telling him for the millionth time it's over. It's just a weird dynamic. She doesn't have any chemistry with him either. She has no chemistry.
So, and so this is right in the middle of her Cheers.
So Cheers has started in 82. So Cheers is probably in like one of its highest moments, because Shelley Long got some, she was in, like Outrageous Fortune, which by the way,
that's right.
I love Outrageous Fortune. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember.
So we'll see. Maybe we'll have to revisit that and see if you still love it.
I love Bette Midler, love Shelley Long, and that. It's such a, oh my God, I love that movie. But she was in Hello Again. She was in
a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, she was in a lot of stuff in it, because that's when, and I think because Outrageous Fortune did so well, she broke free of Cheers. So, and then her career sort of suffered with some leading other movies that weren't as great. But
she's definitely like sleepwalking through this whole movie, though. I mean, it's really like, she doesn't seem like she's trying.
That was my first point.
Yeah.
I was like, she doesn't even want to be, I feel like she doesn't even want to be here. I feel like she's almost like, and it's not her character. When someone's enjoying acting, and I just don't feel like she's enjoying herself in this at all.
I agree.
She has two good scenes, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh, because I know there's two great, I agree there's two great scenes. I wonder if it's the same too.
One of her best scenes is the raccoon.
Oh, I wasn't going to say that one. Okay.
God. I remember when she's pulling up the, what do they call the dumbwaiters?
Yeah.
And there's a raccoon. And that fucking raccoon, I mean, it's
huge.
Real. But then it's obviously a fake raccoon on her. But just her consistent screaming, I truly was laughing out. I was laughing out loud.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
So you mentioned then when you didn't like the fighting at the end. I loved
No. It's not that I didn't like the fighting, because that's actually one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like the tone, and this is back then, remember?
Yeah, right.
I didn't like the tone about how they broke up at the end. they were
Okay.
going to break up. I didn't like how it turned like serious. And now
Yeah.
I'm watching it and I'm like, it wasn't that serious. But back
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I
Well, I
thought it
agree with
was.
you. So now, and I like the fighting back then. I thought it was just very like funny and dramatic and ridiculous. I like the camp of that. But now I was like, oh, because the dialogue is very funny. Like when she's
I
like,
wrote down the dialogue. I remembered the dialogues about the
me too.
bar
Yeah.
and passing the bar and all that.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
And you're like, you're
Hilarious.
so much less attractive when I'm sober. And he's like, thank goodness it's not that often. And she's like, all right, that's it. And and but then to your point, she closes the door and she cries. And they
That
cut
is
back to her crying twice.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, so now she's to like really care.
Right. In the last like 10 minutes of the movie, we're supposed to care about her. But that is one of my favorite scenes. That
Yeah.
whole that fight that part. And the funny enough, the other of my favorite scene is when they first when they've been in the house for like 4 months and they're really getting on each other's nerves and they're really just so fed up. It's right before before she ends up, almost sleeping with whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're talking about the water and like they're fighting and he's like completely like just annoyed at everything and he's yelling and she's like, don't forget to get the water. And he's like, of course I'm gonna get the water. I've gotten the water every day for the past 4 months. And he's like all pissed off. And then she's like, what was the other part? She said, get up. Oh, what did I say? I wrote it. We get the water. And then he like freaks out. And then then they fight. And she's like, don't do this. And he's like, okay. And they calm down. And then she starts walking away. And she goes, she says where the bucket is. And he's like, I know where the bucket is. And I thought that scene was really funny. Like I laughed because I could totally get like how they're so annoyed and just stressed with the whole situation in general.
Yeah.
And they're getting on each other's nerves and all that kind of stuff. And just like that whole like, I know where the bucket is, that kind of
stuff. Yeah. Well, and then him discovering the staircase is such a cute moment.
Can't you just feel it? Can't you just feel it's like, the staircase? Like I felt so much joy for him.
Oh, the other scene I liked with her was where it was very funny. Just her facial expressions was when he's hammering the stairs and the ceiling keeps falling on her.
Yes.
And I'm like, that must have been a fun scene because it was hitting her right in the head and like breaking on her head.
Oh my gosh! You know what's funny about that is like it was actually the next scene. It was the same scene that that Matt actually mentioned how old she looked, and I'm like, yeah, she does, and he's like, but she has like gray hair, and I'm like, oh, I think that's like the plaster from the ceiling.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't help her look at all.
No, I know. So there's something else bigger that is a bigger point that I wanted to bring up. I think that the now and being older and being middle-aged, I don't know if you agree with this. I mentioned it to some other friends recently. I had anxiety watching this movie. Mm-hmm. Did you?
Oh, yes.
You could see because, you remember it. You see things coming from a mile away. You see the destruction that's about to happen.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times, I'm not kidding, where I was like, I think I'm going to look away just from the screen, just for a second, almost like it's like a horror movie, because it's going to happen. Someone's going to get like hurt. It's going to cost a fortune. And maybe because it's
the money
we're
homeowners
now. Maybe that's part of it. But I think there's another part where I'm just like, and also the messiness, like the piles of dirt and everywhere and the dust. And I'm like, in my OCD, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm not diagnosed with OCD or anything like that, but it's like there is a sense of like there's an anxiousness and an obsessive compulsive where like, oh my God, it's so filthy. I could not live in that house.
Right.
Like, and I really struggled with some of the scenes in this movie.
That's interesting. I don't think I struggled as much as you did, but I think that what I found was really funny when I first watched it was not as funny because I'm looking at it and it's the same reaction. I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, that's going to take so much to fix. Like the electricity going through, I'm like, fuck, that's the entire house that's going to have to be remodeled. And the plumbing, I'm like, oh my God, this is a huge house. That's a lot of plumbing.
The bathtub crashing through the floor. I didn't laugh. That's one of the biggest laughs in the movie then. is when the
Yes.
bathtub, although there's no water in it, it's just a little bit of a film glitch. But
Right.
like the bathtub smashes on the floor below, and it just smashes everywhere. And I'm
That
just
is
like,
like an
that's not
amazing
funny.
smash.
I'm like, now as an adult, that's not funny. That
Yeah.
is awful.
And then Tom Hanks's character, looking down and just like he loses it.
He can't stop
That's the
laughing.
last straw. He just
Yeah.
can't stop. And I remember actually not finding it that funny when I first saw it. I found it funnier this time on that particular
interesting.
scene. Yeah. I found it like a kind of obnoxious last time. I'm like, ugh. But now I think I relate a little bit more to like the maniacal laughter. Like, yeah, I could see me doing that. Like, yeah, this is unbelievable. Like, that kind of crazy laughter. So I think I related at least to how he was feeling a little bit more. One scene I loved was the staircase crumbling.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That was a great scene. It was so cool how they did it. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at everything go. It was really cool. Was it in slow motion? I can't remember now. I'm thinking about it. It felt like it lasted a long time, but maybe it wasn't in slow motion.
I think just the last part, because I remember him like grabbing on and like sort of like swinging.
It was really cool how they did that. I really liked
that. Let's see.
But I mean, I think that I agree. I had a little bit of anxiety, but I still felt like it was the strongest part of the movie are all of these things that kept going wrong and how they went wrong. That whole scene with him, actually, it was right after trying to get the bucket of water. And
okay, good.
So that whole scene, I just found it, I found it funny-ish, just in that I could kind of separate myself from like the anxiety that I felt before, because it really seemed more like he was in the middle of like a mousetrap game. Like all of this, like, okay, stepping on this and going that way, and then it rolls
that slides down
and up and down. And obviously it was so far-fetched. All of it was ridiculously fun, like far-fetched. And I think because of that, it helped me to step away from like the whole big problem. I'm like, okay, I can kind of just enjoy this, what is happening in the scene. And like, it was sort of like a little bit of a break for me to watch this whole scene. It looked like you reacted a little bit towards that comment, so I'm curious how you felt about that.
I didn't like it because I felt that in that scene, like Tom Hanks and Shelley Long were both dumb. Like I'm sure they were both fed up, but like when she wants to make coffee and she grabs all the cords, she just starts unplugging things. I don't think she'd be that reckless. And then when they move the board and he falls, I was like, oh my God, I was horrified. And I remembered the whole thing. But then it was like, it just sucks because like they're ruining all the work they did.
Yeah.
And that I didn't like that scene very much. And also, I mean, unless he's made of rubber, he probably would have broken a few ribs. That was the other part of this. He falls on the stairs. Like she steps on the staircase. She steps on his hands. Then she steps off, and then he falls backwards.
That was
on his
quite a
back.
scene. Yeah, that was quite a fall.
Yeah, and the only thing he did was hurt his fingers. And it's like, is he made of like rubber? Like, I mean, it's like, and then that whole scene, like he's like flying everywhere. He falls into a concrete pond or bird bath, a giant fountain, whatever it is. And I'm like, he didn't get hurt a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't think it bothered me as much because, like I said, I sort of separated myself from reality on that. Like it was sort of
for sure. Yeah, I'm just being a brat right now, but it's like but it's one of those things. Like when you start not liking something, you start not liking more. Like it becomes a harder pill to swallow.
Yeah. What else? I mean, look. Do you want to take a quick break?
Yeah, let's do that.
Do you want to just take a quick break? I'll look at my notes. I'm not sure I have a lot more to say.
Yeah.
But all right. So we will be right back as soon as I find this pause button. Okay. We'll be right back. And we're back talking about The Money Pit, 1986. So Brian, I went through my notes. There are a few things that I wanted to mention.
Okay.
One of the things that made me think of you immediately in a good way was when the scene that Tom Hanks is in. I always forget his name, actually. Do you remember what his name is in the movie?
Walter.
I'm writing that down.
Walter Fielding.
So when Walter was in the club at the beginning of the movie,
I have that note.
and he was yelling.
Yelling.
It was amazing. I thought
I
of
was
you right
so
away. I'm like,
happy.
yay, he's yelling in his long music. So that was really funny.
And even
Go ahead.
and even that exchange is funny. Because he's like, you can't pay them on time. They're so used to being screwed over, it'll confuse them. And he's like, but they're your brothers and your sister.
It was funny because he's like, yeah, well, I like you better. He's like, but it's your brothers and your sister. So very I thought of you immediately. I'm like, oh my gosh, finally someone's actually understanding that they're supposed to be yelling in the class.
For any listeners not familiar with my pet peeve is that any time in a movie, particularly in 80s movies, they're at like a rock concert, characters at a rock concert, and they're just having a normal conversation, like totally like normal volume conversation in front of like a fucking rock band.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Front row seats usually.
Yeah.
So my other note was, and I can't believe we didn't talk about it already because it was the most annoying part of the whole movie. That kid Benny.
Oh.
When he came to borrow money from this kid Benny, like.
You didn't laugh with the mother?
The mother, I laughed. I did laugh with the mother. However, I just felt like, again, it was unnecessary.
It was just tacked on.
And there was no like rhyme or reason for it. It was like, oh, let's just put a kid as this big like mob boss or whatever he's supposed to be.
No, he's a rock star.
A rock star, right?
Yeah. He sold like 32 million records that year. But, and Tom Hanks is his agent. So Tom Hanks is a music agent.
Right.
And yeah.
But it was stupid. I thought it was stupid. And it was annoying.
I mean, to me, the problem I have with that scene, it is full on TV sitcom.
Oh, totally.
Right? It was like written by like a sitcom writer. It just like has that, and it's not bad, but it's just like it has that play, that dialogue that just plays off, and it's like it just feels like you're watching a TV sitcom pilot kind of thing.
It does.
Yeah. Although I did laugh when he's like, Benny, and the security guy grabs his gun.
Yeah.
I was like, he's like, are you yelling at me? Oh my God.
And then he ends up
I guess ultimately I like that scene more than you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did not like that scene. I thought it was so annoying. I liked that, and it went on for so long. I felt like
it did go on long, but I liked it. Scene. I liked it.
And then I also just wrote about the rug. What did you think about the rug when he fell through the hole?
Oh, so let me tell you this. So I'm a big fan of Roger Ebert. May he rest in peace. And there is I guess Roger Ebert notoriously hated this movie. Oh. And the scene that he goes after is that scene. Because he says that when he's stuck in that hole, like he's yelling everything. And this is not my critique. This is Roger Ebert's. That he's in that hole. He's yelling everything but I'm stuck in the floor. Like if you watch that scene, he's like, I'm right here. I'm upstairs. Yeah. I'm right here. It's like, why wouldn't you say, I am stuck in a hole in the floor. Please be careful. The rug is the only thing preventing me from falling, once again, falling several feet onto the hard floor beneath him. So I was not crazy about that. I liked Tom Hanks' facial expression as it was happening.
Agreed. I thought it was really clever how I liked how it happened. Like it was very surprising that happened.
Yeah.
I really liked his acting in it. I liked that whole, like, because you could totally see someone actually doing, like, what is happening right now? Like, he was good with that. I didn't like the whole yelling part. I thought that was kind of stupid. But I also liked when she came in and she walks past his body in the floor on the second floor.
Oh my God.
I thought that was really cute too. And it never even got, it's just sort of like a background thing. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then how she doesn't believe him that he's in the room, and he's like, I'm here. That's when he says he's in the floor. He finally says, I'm behind
the chair. I'm behind the chair in the floor. Yeah. But that was at the last moment. Like if you imagine yourself in that situation, you'd be like, I'm stuck in the floor. I'm stuck in the floor. Like, upstairs. Yeah. I mean, you'd be a little more descriptive as to where you are. And that was Roger. So Roger Ebert gave this movie 1 star out of 4.
Well, he didn't get a turkey. That's good.
And he really, and he really went after that scene, and he's like, how come these people are so smart and so stupid? And he would yell everything but "I'm stuck on the floor."
Well,
but anyway, but
I would argue smart, really? Like, what evidence is it that there's smart people in that movie?
Well, I guess Tom Hanks is successful to a point, and
they bought a house within 24 hours without not getting an inspection, without even being able to put the lights on. Yeah. I didn't think they were smart people.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying what Roger Ebert said.
Well, Roger.
So, may he rest in peace, Christina.
May he rest in peace.
But anyway, that's really all I had. So I do think there's Tom Hanks has a lot of good moments of facial expressions in this movie, but I didn't like it nearly as much as I used to.
Yeah, same here. I think what's funny is I did not like it. I would not recommend it, I don't think.
No.
I don't think it's held up. I mean, if I were going to recommend it, I would just say, oh, just watch this scene. And watch this scene, like, like the stairs and stuff like that, like maybe a couple of scenes if I was ever going to recommend any part of it. But I would not recommend it as a movie at all. But what's funny is I actually liked the parts that I did like were parts that I didn't like before. Like that part of it changed.
I will say one thing. Yes, I'll say one thing Carl brought up, and I was like, oh my God, you're so, like, the music is so bad.
It's
and you know who it
80s.
is? It's so easy. And you know who it is? It's Stephen Bishop, who did the Oscar-winning song from Tootsie. It Might Be You. That won an Oscar, I think. But you can hear the voice, and it's like, oh my God, I think that's the guy who did the Tootsie song.
Oh, that's
and
so
these
funny.
songs are so 80s.
Yeah.
And they're so off brand of this movie. Like, they don't belong in this movie. It's very weird.
Yeah, very, very weird. As opposed to, I think the music when we talked about Ferris, the music was so much effective.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and like this could have used some horror movie music, I think.
Yes, I agree.
But the scenes could have been better that way. Anyway, all right, I think we're ready for the questions.
Yeah, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Either way, I don't care. You can go first.
So I did an FMK.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of tough with this movie to do a fuck, marry, kill, but here we go. So I'm giving you Tom Hanks characters.
Okay, good.
I think I'm being very nice, actually.
Thank you.
Very nice. Tom Hanks in The Money Pit.
Okay.
Tom Hanks in Sleepless in Seattle.
Okay.
Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump.
Oh, jeez.
Beloved Tom Hanks characters.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, so I think I would marry the Sleepless in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, he's excited. I think I would have to kill Forrest Gump. And F this guy. Walter. Oh, I remember.
Got him right. I got him right. That's exactly what I thought you would say. And I have to be honest, I think that is the right answer.
I think you're so funny. When you do these, you're like, yep, that's the right answer. Like, these are opinions.
Oh my God. I guess I mean for me too is what I mean.
You say it all the time. It's hilarious. I want to do like an edit of all of the times you say, yep, that's the right answer.
It is the right response. I mean, hearing you say that you would kill Forrest Gump always just brings joy to my heart.
Yeah, you'd have to. I'm sorry. Put everybody out of their misery.
Oh my God, Forrest Gump. Okay, so all right.
So I have a question.
Your question, yeah.
Okay. So all right. So think of this, Brian. You're a landlord.
I am.
Yes, you are. So imagine this. So you might have to use your imagination and say maybe that you're living in or maybe the Money Pit is your house or something. So just bear with me. So you're out at work or wherever someday when we're able to do that again. And Carl calls you and says, "Hun, the worst thing happened in this house. And it's something that happened in the Money Pit." What is the first thing that pops into your mind that would be the best case scenario?
The best case scenario?
No. Sorry. Yes. No. Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. Okay. You already have your answer written down?
So I have 4 choices unless you just, do you want to just choose one on your own?
Have you already picked from the 4 that you think I'm going to say?
Yes.
I have my answer, and I mentioned it already earlier, but it's like that scene is devastating on so many levels. Should I just say it?
Yes. Sorry, my dog is barking in the background.
That's okay. The bathtub crashing through the floor and smashing everywhere. That scene, I remember, again, then and now, then laughing my ass off when I was a kid, now being like, oh my God. Like, I kept thinking of like the shards of the bathtub being found like in 3 rooms over. Carl dropped a coffee mug 2 days ago. I found a speck of it near in Shorty's
it's crazy.
like
something
ceramic,
like that. You're right. Bazillion pieces.
You'll find it months later. You'll keep finding bits. Like, and also just the floor. Like, how do you fix a fucking floor? That is horrific to me. So that would be the worst thing that I could hear, is that a bathtub came crashing through the floor.
So that was like my number 2 choice. It was between that
what was
and
number
something
1?
else. I thought you were going to say the plumbing.
Oh, with the goop coming out and all that?
Well, with everything that surrounds the plumbing. So like the plumbing is not working. So you're not able to shower. You're not in anything that you get, you need to, anytime you want water, you need to go get the water. You have to like walk it up the stairs, all that. I mean, up the ladder. Yeah. But I guess in that scenario, you'd still have stairs. But it's so labor intensive anytime you want to do anything. And it's more like long term.
Okay, so as far as not showering, I think the quarantine.
You have to remember, it's not quarantine time during the scenario. But I agree, it's not as much of a problem right now.
I haven't been super faithful with daily showering, but no, I appreciate that answer. But no, for me, it's the bathtub smashing all the way. How about you?
It was a close one for me. I almost said the black.
Would you say plumbing for you?
Honestly, I think I would say the electricity for me, because I don't know, there's something about it that's I kind of have this fear in me that I'm going to have some sort of electrical fire there's no reason for it. I never had an electrical fire at my house or anything like that, but it's sort of like an ingrained fear inside of me. So I think just because of that would be like my worst case scenario if Matt was like, there's an electrical issue.
Oh God.
Like, oh my God, no. Like that would be it for me. But that's just me. But there's no good scenario here. The weak trees.
Yeah.
Awful.
That's terrible.
Just kidding. Let me cue up the music. Sorry. We're so professional.
We'll wait.
Go ahead. Speak amongst yourselves.
Yeah, but basically, we found a piece of that mug in Shorty's food dish.
Oh my goodness.
Terrifying.
Okay. And that's it for this episode.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening and or watching on YouTube. Until next time.
Stay safe, everyone.